Hey everybody, it's Friday, 2 minutes past 3 here in Estonia. Today is the 11th of March, and I believe I actually wrote 11th of March. I didn't write the 10th, so that's good. I thought I had Alzheimer's last week, so I guess I don't. So that's good news for everybody, I think. Anyway, thanks for being here. This is called an AMA for a reason. You ask, I answer. That's pretty much how it works. So I'm going to start at question number 1, because that's usually a good place to start. I have a question from BXRB 2007. BRXB, sorry. Hola, Kevin. How are you? Can you discuss CM's internal security policies or protocols, and its vulnerability to hacking? Before I get into this question, give me 1 second. I just want to make sure that's not what I wanted to do. Just want to make sure very quickly that our audio is good. Audio looks good. Great. Sound check okay. Thanks for the sound check. Okay, so security protocols and its vulnerability to hacking. The website has scant info about how safe your custody of customers' coins really is. Great question. So Ben asked this a few times over the years, but it's a good question, and I'm happy to answer it. So when it comes to custody in general, we do utilize the services of one custody provider called BitGo. If you're not familiar with BitGo, they were recently bought by Galaxy Digital, which is one of the biggest, a fund that owns a piece of almost every major infrastructure play in crypto. You might have heard the CEO, Mike Novogratz. He's all over crypto Twitter. You might have seen him at an event or two. So we do use BitGo. BitGo has never been hacked. I think they've been around since roughly 2014 or 15 or so, if I'm not mistaken. 15? I think 2015. Anyway, we do use BitGo for the majority of custody. We've built with BitGo, in combination with BitGo and our own backend, we've built a system that we like to call a hybrid system that moves assets in between hot wallets, warm wallets, mini warm wallets, and then we have our own cold storage on the Ether protocol, which we built ourselves. The protocol that we built ourselves has essentially 3 to 5 FA, so not 2 FA, but 3 to 5 FA, meaning that you can't just log in with a password and a 2FA code. You actually need to go through a VPN, which also has a PIN code plus a password plus a 2FA code. Then you have to log into an account, which has a password and a 2FA code, and then you have to actually action transfers, which take actually a 6-eye principle, someone to initiate, 2 people to sign. So combine that with BitGo. BitGo has insurance, obviously, that covers certain types of theft. I think they're now insured 250 million or something like that. Maybe it's 500 million at this point. I don't remember, but they have never been hacked. We've built internal protocols on our side as well. And so our own admin panel does require, like I said, between 4 and 6 principles, depending on what's being transferred across the platform. We hold percentage-wise now a very, very minute amount of money in hot wallets. This is an estimation on my end because we don't generally base it on percentages. We base it on fixed value, and we get that fixed value based on our cash flow. So what we need to pay withdrawals, etc. Most exchanges will tell you we hold, 1% of assets in a hot wallet. But imagine when there's 100 billion under management, that means you have 1 billion in hot wallets. That's crazy. So what we do is that we fix it. We have a fixed amount. So let's say we know we need 200,000 euros worth of Bitcoin at any one time to make sure that we can keep up with the outflow of Bitcoin. We then have these mini warm wallets, which are accessible by lots of different employees in our FinOps and our financial operations department. And it allows them to move a certain amount only to that hot wallet and only up to a certain threshold. And then we have warm wallets, which are accessible only by a select few, which allow to move money only, or crypto only, into mini warm wallets and then into hot wallets from there. And then we have, again, a more cold wallet system where there only are a very small list of signers. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an overview, but we do take security seriously. At the end of the day, when all money and all data is online, you become targets, and that's not just from an exchange point of view, that's an individual standpoint as well. And a lot of the things you need to do to be very, very safe or the safest online when it comes to your assets are expensive and they're foreboding, and most individuals can't actually implement the security that a well-run exchange can. So yeah, there you go. Moving on to question number 2 from Weekhand. Hi, Kevin. This year's September should be good for bondholders, but you have said that summer is not great for markets generally. As XCM holders, should we sell in May and go away? So those who don't know, sell in May, go away is used a lot in equities, famous equity term, essentially because most markets around the world in the summer tend to dwindle. So they fall off a cliff. Why does that happen? Well, probably for exactly why you would expect it to happen. People go on vacation. Traders, really high stress jobs, finance, et cetera, tend to take long breaks in the summer, right? Whether that be June, July, August, whatever, they end up going off in the summer, and thus they de-risk their portfolios. They're not actively trading, so they de-risk, which means they start to sell out of positions getting towards the summer, and then they stay on a relatively, let's say, reduced portfolio over the summer. Now, that doesn't happen every year, and sayings like this are made for a reason. They're made based on some type of facts, that's for sure, but they're made so that retail people follow them, so that smart money can trample retail money. So generally, the summer is lower liquidity, which means it's higher volatility. However, when you talk about crypto's high volatility regardless, right? So whether it's September, May, December, whatever, crypto is volatile. And with the macro political climate, macro geopolitical, regional, whatever you want to define here, it's going to be even more volatile depending on the current situation we see around the world, whether it be COVID, whether it be conflict in Ukraine or conflict elsewhere, or at least conflict elsewhere that the news cares about. Because there's always conflict, there's always conflict in the world. Ukraine wasn't the first, won't be the last. In September, yes, bonds. I don't think it's September actually. I think unless you're talking about bondholders in general, if you're talking about Coinmetro bondholders, I think the convertibility of those bonds is going to happen, if I'm not mistaken, from December to January of next year, not in September. But you might be talking about bondholders in general. I think for XCM, look, when it comes to crypto, the proven strategy, no matter how good of a trader you think you are, or even with mining for that matter, the proven strategy in crypto over the last 13 years, are we even more than 13 years now? We're 14 years now into this. The proven track record is hold, hodl. That's the proven track record. It's beaten every single tradable fund. You can look at any fund that traded crypto, anyone, compare it. Doesn't matter who it is, anyone. If you would have bought Bitcoin and held it, you would have beat every single one of them. And I don't see that changing very near in the future. And so I would say selling and going away probably doesn't make sense. And that's not just because of XCM. I would say that for almost any asset, at least any asset that's worth buying in the first place. Hike the mic. Happy Friday, Kevin. Well, happy Friday to you, Mike. I like your avatar there. Fat little pony or whatever that is. Can we expect coming Mars to sit within a similar reward range as KDA right now, or do you expect some to get way higher, lower? Also, PRQ looking like a steal right now. Yeah, PRQ is looking like a steal. I think, and I'm gonna be just open and honest with you guys. I'm still a PRQ holder. Haven't sold a single PRQ. I do owe some PRQ to somebody, which I just reminded myself while I'm talking about this. So, I'll have to make a transfer. However, so I still own PRQ. Haven't sold any of it. I don't plan to. I think Parsec in general may have made a mistake in strategy with PRQB and then this new token for IQ protocol and this new. I think if they would have applied that utility to just PRQ would be worth €5 or €6 right now. And it's not, because they've kind of, for probably good reason, I wasn't sitting in those meetings, so I can't necessarily tell you what the reason is, but smart people over there, so I'm sure they have their reasons. But that from the utility standpoint of the token, I think it's temporarily kind of made people question why the token's there. I don't think that's going to happen long term, but definitely short term that's happening. Now, back to your other question. So when it comes to multi-asset rewards, it's all going to depend on what we make as a company off those rewards. I'll give you a clear example, right? With Flux, for example, we make less of a percentage than we make with other staking options, and the reason for that is that the overall APY was the first one we launched, I believe, outside of actually it was before XCM, I think, right? Flux. And so for that reason, it has a bit of a different structure, but also the APR that was offered on their staking program was relatively low in comparison to others, so we wanted to stay competitive with our first staking offer. Now we do make more money in terms of percentage on other staking offers, and I expect that it will be somewhat variable. So They may be higher, they may be lower. I think in general, we're going to try to stick more or less to that 20% level with upcoming MARs. For those of you who don't know, that's multi-asset rewards. That means you stake XCM, you get rewards in other assets. Sound check okay. Thank you, we can appreciate that. KDA listed on Binance. Yep. I called that one a long time ago. I'm not the only one. It's a pretty easy call. I think, Binance definitely has had a pricing effect today. Binance's effect on assets is much less than it used to be. And that's probably because people have realized the hard way that sometimes that Binance pump is just leading to a Binance dump. Now, hopefully that doesn't happen with Cadena. However, what I do think is that once we see that Coinbase listing, which I do expect to happen in relatively short term, that's probably going to have much more effect on price overall than Binance does. But it's good to see Binance, finally picking a winner. Way to go, Binance. That was sarcasm, by the way. Not sarcasm because they pick winners, but the way to go part. Anyway, sound check okay, awesome. Hey, Jack, nice to see you here. Good afternoon. Coinmetro, amazing. Rebranding, well done. Plus native UST, Terra implementation, brilliant. Thank you. Jack is never short for compliments for Coinmetro, so I like to read Jack's comments, even though there's no question in there. So thanks a lot, Jack. Really do appreciate it. A lot of people really like the branding. There's a few people that are reminiscing about trains. I might have even dreamt about a train the other night, I think. I don't really know why. But anyway, point is that, yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction. Company is maturing. It makes sense to mature the image. When I say mature the image, look, you can look at the sweatshirt I'm wearing. It's pretty obvious that I like, quirky things, or I just like things with my face on it, which would make me super egotistical. Maybe I am, I don't know. But I do like quirky things. So our original branding, I did like it. There was many things about it I liked, but I also understand that what I like is relatively meaningless in the big sense of things. And that I very much like what we currently have now as well. In fact, I liked it almost from the minute I saw it. I think we're moving the company in the right direction in all ways, whether that comes from our people, whether that comes from our client base, whether that comes from our processes, and also our branding, our product, everything is starting to mature, getting in the right direction. We're really, we could compete before, but now we can win. And I think that's the major difference between Coinmetro now and Coinmetro maybe 2 years ago. Can CM list Singapore dollar base account soon if possible? We could. There's a few reasons why we might not. One, we would need to have Singapore dollar rails, meaning we need to have an account that accepts Singapore dollars. We can get one through Switzerland. However, that doesn't make much sense. People in Singapore moving Singapore dollars are used to doing it through the local banks. That's relatively almost free, if not free, and almost instantaneous, if not instantaneous. Us providing Singapore dollar deposits via SWIFT that cost 70 Singapore dollars and take 1 to 3 business days isn't going to be competitive. And so rather than providing it just to provide it, we want to provide it when we can provide it and compete and win. And so we can't do that yet. And I think very soon you are going to see some new currencies, fiat currencies coming on the platform in the relatively short term. Once we do launch Q3, Q4, once we do launch our digital fiat brand, that's going to open up some doors to get some additional currencies as well. And that's when maybe we can start to focus a bit more on something like Singapore dollars. Hi, Kevin. Did you grow up with pets? If so, what's its name? It actually, them's preferred pronoun was not. I'm not going to go. Looking for ideas. Also, did you have any nicknames in school? Have a nice weekend. Okay, let me start at the beginning. Did you grow up with pets? Well, so when I was a kid, like most kids, at some point I wanted a dog, and my mother told me no. And I still resent that to this day. The funny thing is after she was older, she got like dogs and cats in her house, which was crazy. But so I had pets, but I mainly had like fish, lizards, turtles. The things that you buy and they die 3 days later. I probably had like 45 funerals between the different houses I lived at when I was a kid for like turtles and stuff. As far as names, I have to be honest, I don't think I remember a single name of any of those fish, turtles, or lizards. I did sell lizards in 3rd grade. So there was a river behind my grandmother's house, and I would collect salamanders and then sell them for $3 a piece. And it was a great business because basically they died after 3 days, and then the kids were so distraught that their salamander died, they had to buy a new one. It was kind of amazing. But yeah, I don't remember the names. I've had now as an adult, because wife daughters, etc., have had pets. We had a Pomeranian that was named Fiore. We had a Chihuahua named Ludo back in the day. I had a Cocker Spaniel, Jackie, I think I remember the name was. This is all as an adult, right? Not as a kid. And then I had a Chihuahua that I think was probably not really a Chihuahua at one point, and it had like paws that looked like a Labrador, but it looked everything else like a Chihuahua. I called it Biggie Smalls. So there you go. Also, do you have any nicknames in school? Yeah, back in the day, like I think most people that went to school around the same time I did, like high school, your first nickname was always your last name. Nobody called you by your first name, right? So I was Murcko. That was mine. That was hey Murcko, whatever. Which was kind of a weird last name. So, but it also made it kind of unique, which was kind of cool. I'm trying to remember. I definitely had some shitty nicknames. I'm sure of it, and probably more in elementary school. In elementary school, my mother used to dress me. If I had one of the pictures, I would show it to you. Maybe one AMA, I'll bring it in. I got a couple pictures that my mother had given me at some point when I was like 7 or 8. I had a bowl cut, so I had blonde hair, a lot more than I have now, at least by a certain margin. But a literal bowl cut. My mom would put a bowl on my head and then cut around it. So it was a bowl cut in all senses of the word. And then like she would match me really nice, So I had like a yellow turtleneck, a black like whatever pants, and yellow black shoes. Anyway, it was basically me getting threatened to be beat up every day. There was like 2 white kids. I think there was 1 white kid in the class. That was me for at least the first part of elementary school. By this maybe like the 5th or 6th, it was like 1 other white kid. So I got tortured in like elementary school. I mean, terribly. I still went there every day though, and did my best or whatever. But by the time I got into middle school and high school, was playing sports and was a different kid all in all. Yeah, I definitely had some terrible nicknames, but I don't remember them. I think probably psychologically I locked them out. If I went and sat in somebody's couch, maybe they'd make me cry about it. I don't know, but I honestly don't remember. But I'll try to think about it. What do you think of Metis? No idea what Metis is, so sorry, Tony, I can't give you a comment. But if you DM me some information about it, maybe next week I can. Any comments on the recent EU-US sanctions on regulated exchanges and removing Russian clients? Does this affect CM? And how if you're in a 30% minority of great Russian people? Yeah, so let's start from the end there, because yes, in Estonia, somewhere around 30% have Russian backgrounds, but they aren't holding Russian passports, which they aren't living in Russia either. I'm not sure if the Russian sanctions right now, obviously the higher up ones that are on the oligarchs are tied to their citizenship, not to their residence. But I'm not sure how that works, to be honest, right now with regular people. Having said that, in Estonia, there wouldn't be an issue there. Fundamentally, there is no law yet. There is nothing that says that any company needs to remove itself from Russia. That hasn't happened yet. You've seen a massive amount of companies remove themselves from Russia, things like McDonald's, Coca-Cola, IBM, whatever. All these companies have either temporarily shut down or removed themselves. One, it's a bit of PR and image, right? They want to show that they're with the people of Ukraine. Obviously, to some percentage of the population, they're against the people of Russia. So I'm not sure how that PR is going to work out. Funny enough, what you haven't seen leave Russia, which are the companies that actually make significant money in Russia, are luxury brands. Has anybody seen Gucci, Prada, Saint Laurent, Dolce & Gabbana? Have any of these companies made not Louis Vuitton, but the company that owns Moet and a bunch of other luxury brands, including I think Louis Vuitton, if I'm not mistaken. The guy that donated $600 million to fix up Notre Dame, I haven't seen him leave Russia, and you know why? Is because most of their business comes from Russia and China. And globally, even if you go to, a Louis Vuitton, Prada, whatever store in, Dallas, Texas, it's going to be full of Asians and probably a few Russians. Might be a few Brazilians in there as well. But point being is that there's no law that tells you to do that. For me, we're about open access. Now, that doesn't mean I'm giving Putin an account, because I wouldn't. And obviously, if you're on the sanction list, you can't open an account at Coinmetro, right? Maybe you're on the sanction list for a bad reason, I don't know. But that's not up to me to decide, and I can't open an account for you. But if you're just a Russian citizen that obviously isn't committing war crimes or whatever, I don't see any reason why you should be blocked from being to transact on a platform. You didn't do anything wrong. There may come a point where Russia becomes a sanctioned state, and at that point, we have no option as a regulated institution. We would need to stop all transactions to Russia. That hasn't happened yet. I'm hoping it doesn't happen. Regardless of what's happening around the world, regardless of politics and regardless of etc., if we're going to penalize people who live in countries that go to war, well, let me tell you guys, pretty much the entirety of the West, any Western power, everybody would be sanctioned. The U.S. would be completely sanctioned. We wouldn't be onboarding U.S. citizens anywhere. Germany would be absolutely sanctioned to the moon. UK would be sanctioned. All in NATO, essentially, for the most part, at least the bigger powers, would be sanctioned. It's a path I think that the world shouldn't take, but we'll have to see. Unfortunately, we don't make those rules. I don't work for. I don't sit at FATF or at OFAC. So we'll see what happens. Did you buy some Johannes? I don't even know what that is. So no, I don't think so. Maybe I did because I don't know what it is. If it's some type of sausage product or pork product, I definitely didn't buy any because I'm a vegan. But if it's some type of token, I don't think I own any. I'd have to check them. Could you give short comment on what is crypto halving? Anyway, what does it mean from a staker point of view? Half the rewards for staker after the event. So there is no. So first of all, this idea of halving is kind of like a stock split, and then there's a reverse stock split. But it has more to do with production. So kind of new assets coming in to the economy. How it works with Bitcoin, we can explain that one pretty easily. Bitcoin started out with a certain amount of Bitcoin being mined per block. And then every time there's a halving, it halves. So let's assume it starts at, I think it started at 100, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was 200. I don't even remember at this point. Anyway, it gets halved. So 100 down to 50, down to 25, down to 12.5, where we currently are with Bitcoin. Then eventually it'll go to 6.25, etc. 3.125, 1.56125, etc., etc., etc. So you will have a progression down to basically nothing. For stakers, it's gonna involve what the staking protocol, how the staking protocol works. Doesn't necessarily mean you get half the rewards, but in certain protocols, that's exactly what it means. So it depends on the protocol. Just like halving also depends on the protocol, depending on the speed at which it happens, depending on how it happens, whether it's based on a number of blocks or it's based on time, etc. Is it dangerous to discuss your security protocols publicly? Well, if we were to intricately describe exactly how we do things, then yes, I guess it would be. But saying we use VPNs, we have 5FA is not going to diminish our security in any way. If I listed every person that had access, gave you their email addresses and all that, then absolutely that would reduce our ability to stay secure. But we obviously didn't do that. But good question. Key Kevin, I guess that's supposed to be high, though the K is significant. Well, it's two. Yeah, it's 2 away. Anyway, I guess that's high. I'm going to assume it's high. Many great updates since a while. Congrats. Can't wait to see the next ones. I appreciate you saying that. We definitely have gotten better at doing stuff at Coinmetro over the last few years. So team is growing. Our team is getting better and better. We're actually having more and more resources to get things done. This has been something we've talked about so many times, and it is coming to fruition just like we always knew it would. Yeah, things take time, but we are getting there. I do appreciate you pointing that out. Thank you. When Flux and KDA on margin? With the addition of KDA to Binance and probably Coinbase some point in the near future, it's probably more. Flux has already been there. I think Flux is already listed on Binance. There's probably we probably will have an ability to list those things in the relative short term. Remember that we're working on a revamp of margin. And after we do that, there will be updates, more frequent updates to margin. This could very well be one of them. Any new data on DNA? I assume you're talking about the DNA token and not have we added any new data to our DNA. There's definitely a lot of scientists out there that have been meddling around with storing information on DNA, which is quite unique. It's not really unique, but it's kind of cool, sci-fi cool. Cool. I really should get paid by Huel, I think. Actually, Oliver probably get paid more than me, but I should get a paycheck as well. I consume way too much of this. So if I die of some weird cancer in a few years, somebody should sue Huel on my behalf. So any new data? I don't have any new data on DNA. I haven't yet talked to David Kopsel, their CEO. We were supposed to chat about staking, and we will at some point in the future, but I haven't done that yet. Hi, Kevin. Any chance of some more GBP pairs in this soon, please, or at least XCM? I don't see why we couldn't do that. We have come up with a new system on how to provide cross liquidity, which we're being worked on for months after we had issues with a cross liquidity pairing system that we were using that ran into issues with KDA and then XCM. It's been completely retooled and revamped. It's currently in operation in a very small way across different pairs. Once we have enough data to assure that it is now shouldn't even say bug free, that it can't be taken offline by high volatility. Too many orders aren't going to flood it, which we've obviously now tested quite extensively ourselves, but want to make sure that it works in the real world as well. Then this is a definite possibility. Staking on Coinmetro. Will we ever get to see insights like a snapshot of weekly, monthly earnings? Possible to have an auto cash out feature or auto convert to fiat so we can truly use this as passive income? Hey, Bin Chicken. So like every product on Coinmetro, it will evolve. So if you look at any product we have, there's not a single product except maybe currently Tram, which is about to get some much needed TLC. Everything we have has had iterations and has been improved over time. And when it comes to staking in general, I mean, the cash out button is fairly easy to press, so you can definitely utilize that passive income. But imagine a future for me, if you will, in the very near future, maybe into Q1 next year, once we've gotten some of our challenger bank infrastructure out of the way. Imagine where you can be earning this passive income on your crypto, and yes, automatically being able to spend it via a debit card in euros or pounds or what have you. So yes, all these things are something that is definitely on our minds. It's about making sure that these changes are done in a way that we can do them effectively, and that we're not overburdening or providing any unneeded risk back to our company team, etc. So absolutely, these are things that have been talked about to a certain extent. Auto cash out and things like that also, absolutely. Right now, I'd say the cash out's fairly easy anyway. You just click one button. So you can definitely use your passive income. But yes, those things are being thought about. And the challenger bank services under digital fiat will definitely help us make it more interesting. Do you consider tan lines attractive? That's an odd question. Yeah, I think so. Why not? I think it could go either way, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I grew up in like the 80s, man. So tan lines were a thing. So I think, yes, I think tan lines attractive, but without tan lines also attractive. I think I could go either way. Off topic. Where and who can I invest in commodities as a European? Are there any restrictions in creating an account on those platforms, like minimum amount of money? Well, with a lot of banks, you can trade commodities right from your bank account. Though some of those, most of them in the EU will give you a test. If you don't pass the test, they sometimes don't give you access. In terms of brokers, you have brokers like Saxo Bank, probably one of the biggest. Also, you have like Plus 500, which does a bit more CFDs rather than traditional commodities or futures. You have places like, I was going to say Interbank, but Interactive Brokers, which is probably the largest. Saxo Bank, I think, has more instruments, maybe, but Interactive Brokers is probably the biggest in the world, all available to European citizens. To be honest, I haven't opened an account as a European citizen, so I don't know exactly what they're going to ask you. Some of them may give you a slight test to make sure that you know what you're doing. Some may not, but you should be able to open an account on any one of those platforms. There shouldn't be a restriction. Minimum amount of money. These are retail. These all have retail sides of their platform. Well, Plus 500 is all retail. So Saxo Bank is retail and institutional, and Interactive Brokers has both. What I'd say a little bit more professional retail plus institutional. The Interactive Brokers used to have a minimum balance, I think, of $50,000 or equivalent. I don't think they do that anymore. Saxo Bank, you can open up for much less. Maybe even 1K or less, maybe even now 5K maximum, but I think around 1K or again, even less. Plus 500, I think you can open with a euro. But I would stick, if you're looking for something, better pricing and more competitive, I would stick to either probably Saxo Bank or Interactive Brokers, one or the other. Now that Coinmetro has native Terra and wallet support, does this mean it'll be easier to list other chains which are built using the Cosmos SDK? Yes, that's exactly what that would mean. Absolutely. Will Cadix get listed when they release Q1 or would there be a process? They support to burn KDX that didn't sell in their first public sale, but would be good to use liquidity for Coinmetro. We are in talks with CADX. They made somebody in their community made a tweet about how there was going to be this first through Simple X or whatever the name of that credit card onboarding thing is, that there was the first fiat on-ramp for Cadena. We were like, no. So we did reach out to CADX, and we're in touch with them. We're going to have some frequent calls now up and through their launch. We are going to support CADX. I can't tell you exact specifics yet, but we definitely are in talks with them. As for new equity investors in CM, did you ask them to take a position in XCM2? No, we haven't asked that. But I believe, aside from maybe one individual, they all do already. Still believe in Creta. Will it be able to trade straight from Creta wallet on Coinmetro now? Will you be able to trade straight from Creta? I still believe in Creta. Yeah, look, price is not the first thing I look at to see whether I support an asset. In fact, it's one of the last. It all depends on what type of investor or trader you are. If you're a speculative trader just looking to make money in the short term, then you're going to look at an asset different than a long-term investor. If you're someone looking to support the ecosystem because you believe the ecosystem will grow, which inevitably will grow the price of that asset, you're a different type of investor. Again, if you're, so there's a million ways to look at things. For me, when I buy crypto, I don't buy it you're always speculating, right? You're always buying something because you believe it's going to grow. So there's always some element of speculation, but I don't buy purely based on speculation. So for me, Creta is doing things and has things on their plate that no one else is trying to do. So I still support Creta. I still believe in Creta. Will you be able to trade straight from Creta wallet? We do plan at some point in the future to integrate Creta. That's for sure. Unfortunately, it's not the highest thing on our priority list as of the current moment. I think it's probably a 2023 venture, not 2022. And that's not because I don't think their system works or there's a reason why we wouldn't do it technically. It's simply because of technical backlog and many things we need to do that are a bit more integral into our own business. But we definitely want to support Creta, and we will. VYN FYI. All right. I don't know what that is. Hi, Kevin. When XCM on Bitcoin? When XCM on Bitcoin? Are you asking me when we will have XCM available in some way, shape, or form via the Bitcoin protocol, via some layer 2? So like Rootstock. Is it Rootstock? Is that the name of the RSK? Anyway, there's also another one called Sovereign, I think, which has a layer 2 on Bitcoin. Met those guys a few times in the UK when they were working on another project. Cool guys. I don't know, actually. In theory, putting your asset on the most liquid chain makes sense. However, we haven't seen much progression in layer 2s on Bitcoin as of yet, other than if you want to talk about Lightning Network. And even there, I would say we haven't seen as much interest as you would expect, given the amount of people that complain about Bitcoin, transaction times. So. Hey, Kevin, do you like Popeye's chicken? I'm a vegan, so I don't eat Popeye's chicken. I've had it, though, before I was a vegan. It's pretty popular Southern U.S. I can't really remember if I liked it, to be honest. I was never the biggest fried chicken fan. But I off the top of my head, I would probably say it's definitely better than KFC, which is not a really high bar, to be honest. What advice would you have for a friend who is addicted to crypto gambling on websites such as Stake and Roobet? Well, I think you can remove the crypto from there and just call it gambling, right? What's the difference? Lots of people like to gamble. When it becomes a problem like any other vice, well, then it's a problem. And it's like any other vice. It's the same trying to get somebody to stop drinking or, snorting heroin. I don't think you probably shouldn't snort heroin. If you've seen Pulp Fiction, you'll know why. Whatever, shooting heroin or whatever. You smoke heroin too, I guess. You probably could. I don't know. I've never done it. I'd love to hear from somebody who has. We don't want to go too off track here. So if someone's addicted to gambling, gambling is gambling, and gambling is a business for a reason, right? Gambling wasn't created so that people who own gambling houses can lose money. Gambling's created because literally the house does always win. And I think that if that if you have your friend is rational. Now, if that person, he or she enjoys gambling, and it's not a problem in their life, meaning they're not losing their house over it, their family over it, etc., then why not? Everybody can have a vice in life. Most people do. If it's causing disruption in life and they're somewhat of a rational person, just make them understand that, one, there's no such thing as a professional gambler. I know people like to say they're professional gamblers, and some people do have some quote unquote success. Those that do are usually really good at math and statistics and are actually gaming the system. They're not winning. You don't get success in gambling from being lucky. You get success in gambling from gaming the system better than the system can game you. And if you're losing, that means you're not good at gaming the system. And understand that it is a business. When you gamble, the company that you're receiving your bet knows you're probably going to lose, and they're probably right. Hey Kevin, what are your thoughts on Oasis Network Rose? I really haven't wrapped my head around it, and no one better to ask. I actually don't have an opinion because I've never read up on it myself. So I think somebody might have DM'd me about this, and I haven't read it yet. But please, if you can, on Telegram, Kevin Murcko, DM me. Make sure it's Kevin Murcko and not Kevin Murcko or Kevin Murcko 1, or there's about 9 of us now. So make sure you find Kevin Murcko, the right one. But DM me and I'll take a look. Maybe next week we can chat about it. When do you think we will get next Mars token rewards? I think the goal right now is roughly once per month we're going to update Mars. We might do it sooner, but I think that's generally the idea. So that should give you an idea. Do you think Mars affects Coinmetro's status as the gem exchange? You're creating sell pressure on gems listed nowhere else. No, I don't, because if you do the math, the sell pressure is small. I was going to say infinitely small, but that didn't sound good from a marketing standpoint. It's not infinitely small anyway, but it is small. The overall effect is small. And in fact, when we look at the stats of cash outs, the cash outs on XCM or any other stakeable asset are very low in general. And we haven't seen lots of cash outs from those Mars yet either. So no, I don't think it does. Look, there needs to be sellers for people to buy. Selling does provide liquidity to the book. Everybody that complains about liquidity then complains about sell pressure. You're complaining about liquidity. So the point is that if these are gems and people can buy them at lower prices, I'm not sure they're going to be too upset about that. And eventually, when they do show their true colors and become and rise in value, the relatively small sell pressure that comes from those multi-asset rewards isn't going to affect price at all. Yep. Security questions. Resenting's one mother is as based as one can get. I appreciate that, Jim. Thank you. And when affiliate commission on staking rewards? Woo! If we did that, we'd have to pay less multi-asset rewards. And to me, I think the multi-asset reward makes a bit more sense. Affiliate commission is already coming from several sources and will probably expand over time. So I'm not sure that's going to come down the track, at least in the short term. The guy asking you your pet name is trying to hack your account. Yeah. But I don't, dude, there's not a password. There's not a password I know that I use that has anything to do with pet names, the street I grew up on, my mother's maiden name, my birth date, none of that bullshit. But yeah, it was a good attempt. Anyway, I answered it because it's a cool question to answer regardless. But yeah, I saw but yeah, no one's going to guess my passwords. Is Mars exclusive? Plus I change them quite frequently anyway. So, is Mars exclusive for XCM, or is some other project that could take advantage of, like maybe staking Flux, Get Flux, KDA, etc.? Is Mars exclusive for XCM? So there is at least one other company that I know that does some form of multi-asset staking, but it's limited in its nature. So I think in that aspect, yes, it is exclusive. Or maybe what you're asking me is, would any of the other assets that we stake on our platform that allow for staking would allow someone to get multi-asset rewards? The answer to that is it will be exclusive to XCM on our platform. Rug pulled salamanders. Awesome. Your friend will lose everything eventually. Yep. Gambling is a huge damaging addiction. Yeah. Well, again, I think it depends. Vices, everybody has a vice. Your vice might be coffee. Your vice might be chocolate. Your vice might be a drink every now and again. Your vice might be I don't know, some recreational drug you do once every couple months with friends or once a year. I don't know. Everybody has different vices. In fact, you could have vices that seem good. Going to the gym can be a vice. It can actually be very bad for you if you do it too much. Sauna, all that stuff. Anyway, everybody has vices. I think it's all about moderation. Life is all about moderation. If you can do it in moderation and it doesn't affect you, it doesn't negatively affect people around you, if it makes you happy, fine. Let's play Bash the Bumblebee. That was a black and yellow thing. Okay, gotcha. Hello, Kevin. The market had layer one season, a T season, Web3 season. What do you think is going to be the next one? Well, we haven't really done anything in Web3. And NFTs are in their nascent state, and so are many layer ones. So to be honest, I hope we don't have, this kind of mentality where every 6 months, every year, we're focusing on something else and we never finish any of them, because we still need work on layer ones. NFTs are still only used for scribble lines on a JPEG, where in reality, there's a million use cases in finance, especially where non-fungibles could do a lot of good. And Web3, we don't even have our, little toe wet when it comes to the potential of Web3. So I don't know. I mean, I think a combination of all those things. I mean, if we actually had more legitimate, scalable, secure, and cheap transactable layer ones with more use cases of non-fungibles, we would actually affect the growth of Web3 to quite an extent. And so I hope we don't actually fall into another season. In fact, I still think we're in all three of those seasons, and we should probably focus in one place. XCM now has XCM USD, XCM Euro. Could XCM tied to different currency? It absolutely could, sure. Estonia suffers a lot from this. I'm totally out of context on that one, so. Ainoste is Estonia backwards, and that just is not all right. Maybe I'm not getting the joke. Maybe it's because it's Friday and I've had a lot of meetings. I don't know. How long do you think the stock correction will last? Do you think crypto can do anything while Nasdaq is in a downtrend? Well, crypto proved to us during COVID that it actually was a bit of a hedge, whereas initially it acted with markets. Now, markets, I'd have to say, towards middle and end of COVID were just going up. So I guess there was still correlation there, but they shouldn't have been going up. I mean, the only reason they were going up is because the governments were pumping big money into stocks. I have to believe that at some point, as we get more institutional when it comes to crypto, we are going to see this play out where we have, a negative correlation or reverse correlation with equities. We haven't seen it yet. To be fair, though, we haven't seen it across some other relative stores of value either. We did see this recent pop in gold. Gold went up like $12, and our buddy Peter Schiff was all over it. But I think it has to. If crypto is going to, if these assets are going to maintain or especially your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your Bitcoin more than anything else probably, if it is going to grab this narrative of being a store of value, of being this kind of hedge, of being digital gold, of being whatever you believe it is, it's going to have to depeg itself. It has to. We are going to have, and I've been talking about this for a while, inflation is going to be brutal. On top of the fact that you have Ukraine, on top of the fact that you have, COVID, except COVID obviously was the initial catalyst, then Ukraine, with gas prices, with oil prices, commodities, grain. People talk a lot about oil and natural gas. They don't talk so much about the grain. Russia and Ukraine together, I think, provide 30 or 40% of grain exports to the world. Now we're talking about food, guys. I mean, it's one thing if you can't drive your car because you're priced out of gas, but it's another thing if you can't eat because you're priced out of food. And inflation is going to hit food very hard. It's going to hit it so hard to the extent that governments are going to have to subsidize inflation. But when they subsidize the inflation, whether it be on oil, whether it be on wheat, et cetera, it's going to bring additional costs and additional inflation to other things. Used cars have inflated 40%. There's going to be pieces of inflation that price people out of their everyday needs, and that's going to cause lots of issues. And so the stock market cannot maintain a false sense of value for that long. At some point, governments will stop, or they just simply won't be able to support its continuing growth. And the hope, I think, of all crypto, the crypto community at large, is that it's that point, or hopefully right before that, it's at that point, or maybe somewhere close to that point, that crypto depegs itself from this correlation. Greetings, Kevin. Can you discuss your education background, especially undergrad and grad school? Also unrelated, is your customer service team based in Mexico? Hey, TR8. So educational background, I went to high school, no undergrad, no grad school. And yeah, I am not against education. I think life is education. I think every day is an education, and you learn something new every day, just like the old adage says. For me, I think there are certain people and for certain professions where school is just, it's needed, and it is a big benefit. And I think for others, not so much. Unfortunately, there still is a bit of an ideal around the world, and definitely in Europe as a whole, that a piece of paper that says you studied something somehow adds more value than experience in the field. I think we are slowly kind of changing the world in that aspect. So, for me, for instance, hiring people, etc., education and experience, to be honest, I look at secondary to whether someone's passionate and just smart. Now, if you're a problem solver and you're passionate, I don't really care what you did in the past, and I don't really care if you went to school. I just want to get you as quickly as you possibly can to help me solve some problems passionately. So anyway, is your customer service team based in Mexico? We do have a customer service team based in Mexico. We also have customer service in the UK. We also have customer service in Estonia. We also have customer service in Southeast Asia. So we have a diverse, our teams are diverse, sorry. Yep, there we go. Hermes, Kering, and Chanel have decided temporarily shut their shops in Russia. Okay, I didn't catch that one. I missed that one. Temporarily, though. I guess McDonald's and the luxury brands temporarily. I wonder if people can still buy online, though. Yeah, obviously, probably not buying McDonald's online, but I'm wondering if they're still catering to online purchases. That would be a unique question, I think. Can we at least make sure to try and ban some war criminals if they ever pop up? Absolutely. We follow sanctions lists 100%. We follow, OFAC and FATF, and we screen clients, and we make sure we're not, never mind war criminals, other criminals as well. If you, especially if you're a sanctioned person, we're not going to serve your account. What my point was to say that the kind of what a government does shouldn't reflect on all its people. And that's old world thinking. And we are in a new world of finance. We shouldn't have old world thinking. Rose Network thoughts, please. Yeah, don't have any. So somebody's got to send me some information about it. Good morning, Kevin. Love Coinmetro and your AMAs. Can you explain how the percentage works for multi-asset rewards? Currently, my option is 18% for KDA. It's an 18% boost in what you already get on XCM. For example, if you're in tier 3 and you get 4% on your XCM, that equates to 0.72% of that value in KDA. Hopefully that's explains it to the extent that it's easy to understand. How are core revenues looking? Core revenues have fallen off a bit in Q1, expected because we had this shift in our rules and stuff because of the fraud we saw at the end of last year. Also, there has been a bit of a lull in volumes in general across crypto, at least in the beginning of Q1, a little bit. The volatility is now starting to pick up. And we also had to pull back a bit of marketing simply because of the changes to compliance and legal to a certain extent. So we will turn back on the growth engines towards the end of March into early April. But we still, right now, even with the kind of pullback, we're at a baseline of where we were heading out of the summer last year. So what we can tell there is that we're not, we're when you zoom out, you're going to see growth like this. Where we saw a kind of growth like this, as you zoom out, just like if you look at a Bitcoin chart, when you look at it close, you're like, Jesus. When you go out, it just kind of looks like this, right? And that's how we're headed. So we have a little blip on the screen, but we know why the blip is on the screen. It's not like we're continually doing the same thing and somehow we stopped generating, the same revenue. Can I just say I'm glad the door is closed? Freaks me out when it's open. I mean, my door, this door. I'll keep that in mind, DDD. Skipped my question. Did I? Let's see if I can find your question then. YSIR. Where are you, buddy? I don't think I see your question, actually. GBP pairs? I answered that one. That was yours. And you said the sound was okay. So yeah, I answered your question. GBP pairs. It was all over it. Let's see. We have maybe a few more minutes here. Made a video with old XCM logo. Right on. Love to see it. Can recommend Saxo Bank, but they don't accept crypto as source of wealth. Yeah. They probably won't for the longest time, to be honest. Wow, you are so slow with the questions. I made a fool of myself. I don't know how you made a fool of yourself by me answering a question slow, but I'm not sure whose fault that one is. Have you looked into Claros? I have not. Jim's saying they're a physical danger, so I haven't. Kevin, I'm sorry for spamming the chat. I did not realize there was a delay in delivering the comments to you. I do appreciate the stream and love Coinmetro. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Love getting the questions, even if I answer them slowly. Will XCM use Parsec's money laundering protection? Parsec's money laundering protection. I believe you're talking about a partnership maybe with Parsec and Crystal. I think it's Crystal. We currently don't use Crystal. We use Chainalysis, but there is a potential that we could use Crystal down the road. And Parsec for other things related to triggers, if this, then that, etc. Any biz dev news? I was in Poland Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, talking to some investors, some potential biz dev that could happen there with a local company that provides physical Bitcoin exchange. So maybe some news on that over the coming months. What does CM do with fees received for running staking? Around 20% is planned for Mars. What about the rest? Do you add it to treasury, stake it, sell it? Well, it's revenue. So we do the same thing we do with revenue, all other revenue. We reinvest it. So historically, we haven't sold any of it, I think. But we will start at some point to sell those rewards because they're part of treasury. My cat food rose almost 50%. Yeah. 50% on cat food, man. We're going to World War III for sure. Shorts are building massively on Bitfinex, brace for capitulation. Then, like a phoenix will rise, glistening gold. Kevin, totem of pride and prejudice, will oversee the new age. Fiat is dead. Kevin forever. Okay, man. I'm surprised I was able to read that without messing it up. Yeah, shorts building on Bitfinex, and all they got to do is get some. You'll see a Twitter post or something from a whale bot that says Tether printed $1 billion, and it'll end up at Bitfinex, Binance, and Huobi, and then bye shorts. Would you trust financial advice from Biz? No. If Parsec does AML, they definitely have heavy competition in Estonia. Am I right, Kevin? Yeah. They don't. I don't think they do direct AML. It's the first time I heard of that. I do know that they have a partnership. I think it's with Crystal. But anyway, that is the last question I see on my screen. So I'm going to end it there, guys. We're about 53 minutes in. I was supposed to do half an hour now. I haven't done anyone at a half an hour because I just like talking to you guys for some reason. Thanks for all the support as always. It is Friday, so spend some time with friends and family. If you can't do it physically, do it virtually. Might do it on Hotmail Messenger. Oh, man, does that even still exist? Anyway, have a good weekend. Spend time with friends and family. Shill them XCM. Usually I come up with a story to say shill them XCM, but just blatantly shill them XCM. When you see them, talk about Mars and how you're going to Mars and how they should come with you. And when they get all confused, maybe they'll do some research. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for the support. Thanks for the questions. See you guys here next week. You can always tag me on Telegram at Kevin Murcko. You can tweet me at Kevin Murcko. Make sure it's at Kevin Murcko. No Kevin Murcko 1s or 2s or 3s or 4s. If you see someone who looks like me on Twitter or anywhere else or Telegram, Instagram, whatever, trying to sell you like signals or, I don't know, portfolio management, it's not me. See you guys soon, and can't wait for next week. Cheers.